Cool. So we're gonna cover school sales, everything you need to make your first dollars on school. So for some proof, so that you should actually listen to me, we got me with the course team, which are doing like 250K a month right now. And essentially, I am now working with Dan Harrison, doing like 100K months. And I'm like the community manager, and I also do sales. And I also made some ads for school and was a mod in schools. Just being all over the map. So we're going to cover the four horsemen of school sales and kind of the biggest system behind it. And even if you have no idea what you're doing, this will give you kind of the lay of the land. It works for any school model. So whatever you're doing, hopefully this will be helpful. First one being the about page, classic. So how I learned it was I used to have a school community. This is some like deep lore for like 3 months when I started, and grew that to like 1.7K members. There used to be actually more categories on the platform, completely unrelated. And on my paid community, I had 204 people join with zero signups. So I've been there where it sucked. So that's where I kind of got more into about pages, learned how they worked. And later on, I learned that it was actually a skill in my about page that made me not earn basically any money. Because this guy won with a very similar community and made 8K a month. So that's why you should care about pages, right? Description. What even is it about page? The way I like to think of it is just three things. You have the name, the graphics, the description. I like keeping this description and description the same just because it honestly makes it simpler. And fun fact, people on the phone actually don't get to see this. So it's just better to keep them the same because it's just simpler for you. With the name, I see a lot of random names now coming up. I also just like to make it simple where it tells them what you're actually doing. Because I've seen some names that are like um recent one I saw. Hopefully he doesn't see this. If he does, Olaf was Flow. That was the name. And it was about like leaders and everything like that. And like that doesn't necessarily tell me anything, right? Flow, I'm thinking like deep focus or something like that. So just making sure the name is actually really good. And generally how people kind of read about pages is on the computer. Up here, this, and this. So for the graphics, there's a million things you can do with the graphics. And best thing I found is literally just keeping it so simple, where it's just an image with a simple headline. That's it. You can have your own image here. You can do VSLs. You can do all sorts of stuff. But this is like tried and true will get you up there. Just like some stats around that. If you need to know if you need to change your about page, average conversion rate for a free community is 20%. Average conversion for a paid community is 4%. So it's pretty true. And then description. This is for people who are X and want Y. Classic hook works. And then go on to proof. I've done ABC. Plan. You get feature which delivers X. You get feature which delivers Y. You get feature which delivers Z. And then just a CTA. A lot of people don't do the CTA, which is like a big mistake because then, people don't actually take the action, right? So some examples would be Evolve, for example. So this is the community that's making like 400K a month right now. And if you just kind of go through it, right? Names, fine. They got too much aura to care about that. But essentially, promise, number one. And then more bonuses and stuff like this is like extra stuff later down the line if you want to optimize. Proof, more proof, the plan, CTA. So it's just like promise, proof, plan, CTA. These three things can be in any order and then always CTA at the end. Like most about pages have those three things, and it just makes it really simple. Jenna's like if you want to be valuable, promise, plan, proof, see you inside. Skool themselves. Skool doesn't need proof because after a certain amount of members, I think like it kind of doesn't matter. Also, they don't send people here, but like when you see 200K members, you're gonna be okay, cool, right? That basically translates to proof, and then plan, and then talking about the features which delivers X, right? So it's like training, how to start and grow to 10K a month. So it's really important that you tie it to some sort of outcome because ultimately with sales, you don't want to sell the plane ticket, you want to sell the vacation, right? And a CTA at the end. So important points. Don't overcomplicate it. Don't obsess over it. Don't use AI for it. Really simple. You can use AI if you want to like get some general ideas, but I would take out the dashes, and I would rewrite it in your own words. Also, if you got any questions, drop it because I'll be watching those. And the don't obsess over it is I see a lot of people that are getting like below 50 viewers, and they're like changing the about page every week, or even worse, they're not doing like proper testing and they're changing it every 3 days. So it's just a complete waste of time because they have no idea if the change actually worked or they changed the entire thing. So just get something that's like close to the average, 20%. And leave it, honestly. Honestly, leave it. Get more traffic because everything we talk about, yes, obviously it's useful because, I'm saying, what can I say? But you can get orders of magnitude higher on the front end while you can only go to 100% with your conversion rate. So what do I mean by that is you can go from 100 viewers to your about page to 2,000 viewers, but you can't like 20x your conversion rate unless your conversion is like 0.2% or something. Well, it's like very low, right? And don't overcomplicate it. Basically, just like keep it simple. Like I see so many people that have these like really weird copies and everything like that. And it's like, yes, that stuff works 100%. But at the beginning, you don't have to do anything crazy. VSLs, especially, I see so many people working on VSLs, which are super long, 7 minutes, 5 minutes. And it's just a waste of time because, first of all, if you're just starting out making your first dollars online, you probably don't necessarily have an offer that's like market fit. And so you'd want to do it like this. In terms of, is there somewhere we can see our conversion rate? If you go to your community, so you can see it right here. And then I think this is going to get improved. We had a really weird day. But I'll play, depending on the amount of traffic you have, you'd want to test that at different intervals, right? So it's like we have enough people where we can test it probably every week, right? But some people, it might take them a month before they can actually do a proper test because not that many people are coming in. Right? It's like if you have 30 people coming in a month, which is like pretty low, then you just don't have enough results to actually know if something changed is actually making your stuff better. Any questions on that? Cool. If you do have questions, just like put about page and then colon, and then I'll cycle back around. Cool. So we got Skool sales, about page, number one. Number two and three. You didn't see that one coming, huh? The double reveal. The Amazon one-on-one calls. Very intentionally done that way because it kind of leads to one another and very similar skill sets. And you can also do DM closing. So, hi Atlanta. Let's prove this guy, Mr. Miles. Probably has a billion in sales on Skool now. I think he's close at least. At least has like 700K. Right. So probably one of the best on the platform. This is why you should kind of care about it. So I'm just gonna play this clip.
What separates people who make like zero from people who make six figures? What separates people who make six figures from seven? And what separates people who make 7 figures from 8 figures? And I've looked at all sorts of variables to try and figure out what one variable really does determine this. And I found out what it is. It's strategy sessions. So those are sales calls. So if I just find out how many strategy sessions somebody has done, it is a true indicator of how successful they are and how much money they make. And so I'll give you an example. Someone who doesn't have any clients and they're wondering why they're not successful, they will have done, most commonly, 0 strategy sessions. And they're wondering why they're not successful. It's ludicrous, really. If you don't do any sales calls, you're not going to get any clients. But still, they think it's something else. And then,
So that's the importance of sales calls. I would say if you're like uncertain about hopping on calls because you're not gonna like it, I would probably question if you like the market, if you don't like talking to the members, because talking to the customers is really important, right? And sales is almost like a form of doing that. So when you're beginning, it's not even necessarily about hopping on the call, and you never want to do this, but like hopping on the call and hard closing someone, but it's just about showing them what you have and seeing how they react. I mean, like, okay, is this actually what you want? Because honestly, the biggest learning, I think, from Max and working with him was this point where he made it constantly, which was give the market what they want. If you give them what they want, they'll buy it. And you can figure that out by hopping on calls with people. I'm gonna walk through like the basics of calls and everything like that. So most people think selling means talking nonstop, greased back hair, and trying to like convince prospects. When sales is fundamentally getting someone to take an action. So, classic homozy example. Classic. Um, Someone hasn't had any food. They come into the restaurant. You sell them a steak, and then afterwards, you don't sell them another steak, right? You just sell them dessert because they just got their main meal served to them, so they are no longer deprived. Essentially, the chances of you selling them 2 steaks up front is significantly higher than you selling them 2 steaks in one sequence after they eat it because their deprivation basically goes lower. Very basic. So it's basically this, right? It's like they're very hungry. They want to not feel hungry. You sell them a steak. That's the solution. Cool. General beliefs. Helping the customer or consumer. You are not an annoying little pest by presenting your offer. Do not come across passive. And that's kind of the main thing. I see a lot of people that are kind of like scared about their offer because they're unsure if it's good. And if you're beginning, it's probably not good. And that's fine. No one cares. If you just hop on call with someone, like I said before, just let them know, you know, and then they'll tell you. So sales is also collaborative, not adversarial. Again, you're not in the park selling up someone your car or something. It's pretty simple. Work together as a team to reach their goal. And it's you and the prospect versus the team. So that's why you hear so many people in sales training and everything like that talking about being in the same side of the table with them. That's essentially what they mean. You're side by side facing something. So, sales is also just like dating. Not that I know much, but if you chase someone, they're gonna run away from you. So don't be needy and don't be greedy there. And think steps ahead. So keep in mind where you are in the conversation, and I'll give you like a general framework for this, where you want to go in the conversation. So don't ask like random questions. I see a lot of people that are like, so what do you like for food? It's like the community is about, I don't know, making 20K a month or some crazy shit. And you're not here to make friends. Controversial one, but you don't want to get stuck in the friend zone. It's the same thing with the question I just asked. I see a lot of people that kind of hit up people and they like make friends with them, and then they feel awkward when they're trying to sell them. And it's like, of course. I think this works in Synthesizer, comedian on Skool, because it is the culture there. So people hop on networking calls to share their offer with people. But generally, it's not a very good strategy, especially if someone's joining your community. Then it's like very weird. you have to make that upfront frame that you are going to like essentially sell them on something, right? So appointment setting is setting someone onto a call, and this is very important for DMs essentially. And they don't lie. What they don't do, they don't make false promises. Don't try and get the call where they can't help the person because that doesn't help you either. Uh, Treating the people as like money essentially, walking dolls, doesn't work very well. Don't make assumptions. That's a really big one. I used to make a lot of assumptions in my just like day to day, and now I really don't because if you make an assumption, you lose a sale. The moment someone feels misunderstood is the moment where they go on the other side of the table and they feel judged. I don't get your question, Christian. Oh, like why you feel like it like bullshitting people? Um, I'm gonna pass that one off to Jenna if she's there when it comes to the Q&A, because that's more.
I am
Can you
here.
hear me?
Yeah.
So the question that came up was why does sales feel to me like strategically bullshitting people is what I'm guessing is what you meant. Because you would never buy $100 PDF or a $1,500 call for anything. If you can hardly believe in your own products, even though you understand they can work, how can you overcome that?
Can I say one point before you cook?
Go ahead.
Um, I would say like if you don't buy anything, then that's kind of if that's like you actually don't buy anything, then that's fundamentally the issue. Maybe there's other stuff around it, but if you don't buy anything and if you see it as like paying the price, then the big shift there is just investing in yourself, right? So I invest in coaching, for example, um, but like I'm okay with doing it if it's valuable to me. So it's like if you don't, and to make that onto like a bigger point, this will come up in the follow-ups, which is you kind of see the world with the behaviors that you do. So if you judge someone really harshly, right, that just like they're walking around, then you're gonna dress really nice because oh my God, you're gonna get judged. So it's kind of the same thing there. Anyway, go ahead.
So I would go into this is more of the mindset behind selling rather than the basics of selling. And so I'll go in a little bit to it right now, and then we'll go back to what Artin's teaching. Um, when you don't like, first of all, when I've hired sales teams and trained sales people, the first thing that I do um, is make sure that they understand what they're selling. And then my gut check for them is like, do I think they'll be a good salesperson? Well, I need to know if they're going to believe in what they're selling. Because if you don't believe in what you're selling, you're not going to sell it. I just like, it's not going to be a good sale even if you have to like hard close somebody. Um, my guess is in this situation, most people have are adverse to selling in general, or even whether it's them selling or other people selling to them, is they probably had a bad experience or they grew up with people that have had bad experiences. So that constant kind of like, it's almost like you hear the word affirmation. That's why people will say like money doesn't grow on trees. Rich people are bad. Or like, uh, I feel like there's those things that are fundamentals that we've been built up and raised around that we start to have to break down and see, like, does it serve you to have that mindset? Does it serve like what your purpose is while you're doing this to continue to hold on to something like that? I wouldn't like, I'm not going to disagree with you. I wouldn't pay $100 for a PDF. um, Even if Hormozy wrote it himself. I'm sorry, Hormozy.
I was legit thinking that. I was like,
Yeah.
oh,
So, I think that if you know what you have is valuable, like you have proven it, it helps you break that down a little bit more. That's where I would be like, make sure that you start to build up the evidence that what you're selling is worth it. And sometimes people will say like it needs to be the 10%. Like if somebody's paying 100, they need to get 1,000 in value. I mean, that's just one way to help the seller believe in what they're selling, and in that belief, they're able to sell that belief to the other person. Um, I This is why I hate value stacks too. By the way, I am a firm believer in not using value stacks to sell, because when you put
Of
a
course, that
number
comes up.
saying, "Hey, this call is worth 5 grand," I'm like, first of all,
This call
don't
is
tell
worth
me,
5 grand, by the way.
yeah, don't tell me it's worth 5 grand if you haven't ever sold this call for 5 grand. And there's been moments where like I have charged 10K a month per client, and but I still would never use that evidence to sell somebody else on it, because there's just so much there's so many people just making up random numbers and stuff like that. And so I think if it's feeling like strategic bullshit, you could even kind of lean into that. You could go into your sales calls with saying, "Hey, I'm here to provide value. I'm here to help you. If you found help from this call that we're doing, I do have more help and I would love to help you, but obviously my time is worth something. And so that's why I charge for continued help beyond this one strategy call." So that's what I would say to that. Artin, did you have anything else you wanted to say on it before you go back to what you're doing?
Uh, yeah, Charlie Morgan actually kind of does this as well. So he'll at the start of a lot of his like VS, basically every VSL he does, video sales letter, he always goes, "I'm here to tell you something," and then he like goes into it. So there's that aspect. There's another aspect which is sometimes I had Evelyn say this, which I actually agree with. Sometimes like you don't deserve to charge the amount you're charging. And it's like beginners charging high ticket, for example, after spending, I don't know, 2 weeks learning something. It's like, yeah, kind of fair that you don't want to charge 10K a month for that thing, right? Um, that's why I like the Homozy kind of way of building up when doing free work, because you know, if you have 10 clients and then another one is like literally too much, then you're like, bro, like you need to pay me because I can't take on any more. Um, so that's what I would say. Cool. Um, don't manipulate people. Yeah, hopefully I shouldn't have to put that one up there, but don't do that. Um, and yeah. So what they do is like sound natural, not forced. I would say a script is really good, but you don't want to, sound forced either. Detach from the outcomes is a really big one. Honestly, the best way to do this is to change the amount of traffic you have, if I'm being honest. You can work on like all the internal stuff or whatever, or you could just get more traffic. Because if you know you have another call afterwards, then you kind of don't care. And first, determine whether they can help. So discovery is really important. Even like in the training I'm doing right now, I have a small section on sales at the end because discovery is the most important thing that you're going to do. Ask clarifying questions if it's not clear. Essentially, don't assume. Stay true to you and your values. So it's like going back to not selling bullshit and proven framework, which I'll share. So personally, I find the easiest framework is just add some emojis for beginners to learn. This is kind of like the thing that got me started. It's pretty good. It's just clarify why did the label the problem, overview past experience, sell them the vacation, explain away their concerns, reinforce the decision. So this is after they've bought. So in the DMs, you're essentially just doing CLO. So you're clarifying why they're there, labeling them with a problem, overviewing past experience, right? That's all you need to do for you to get them onto a call. And then on the call, and probably dig deeper into this and go into this. So that's one path. And then path two is you can just do all of this in the DMs and you can DM close. I'm not going to touch on DM closing because it's slightly more advanced. So, in terms of clarifying why they're there, what made you join? Obviously, your group's about fitness, for example. Let's say getting absurdly big biceps. It's like even in that very specific niche, there's going to be multiple different avatars and why they joined and the values they have. It's like one of them is going to be extremely narcissistic and wants to do it because they want to look hot on some beach. Another one is extremely driven and actually wants to get an Olympia in like bodybuilding, right? And knowing that helps you a lot with the sale later down the line. So label the problem. If they joined, then they probably have a problem. Unless it's like very, very hobby niche, like community, then you're probably not focusing too much on sales, and it's more like low ticket, more about the about page, sending them to like the plans page and everything like that. And once you know the why, I want to, get really big biceps. Repeat back to them what they said. So going back to not assuming stuff, and then overdo past experience. So it's like, why don't you have extremely big biceps? This is such a boy example. Um, why does things work out? You know, and then pitch, and then you take all of that and you kind of represent it back to them. So, in this weird example, that's awesome. Do you think it would be helpful if we were to set up a quick call and explore how and if we might be able to help you overcome having extremely small biceps so that you can get big biceps and go to the beach and show off so that you can reach the goal here? I'm not going to say in 6 months or less. Right. And then during the conversations themselves, so this is the overall framework for the entire conversations. And then in the actual chat messages or in the conversation during the call, you want to do AAA, which is from Hormozy, which is funny because there was actually another course I took in DM setting, and it was ARA. I think that's what it was. And it was acknowledge, relate, ask. And I think those people came to it with extreme, like from different angles, right? And arrived at the exact same thing without knowing. So I think this is like very fundamental and it works. Acknowledge is essentially someone says, um, yeah, my biceps are too small. Oh, okay, cool. And then you would, maybe say that, maybe won't. And then associate. I'm just gonna keep going with this example. That actually makes you exactly like John that came in last week or a couple months ago, and now he's doing great. And then ask. So you want to move the conversation forward. If a conversation dies, a huge reason is that either you didn't ask a question, so why would someone respond, or you asked a question that's too complex, especially if you don't have rapport with someone. Rapport is just um, essentially how much someone likes you, like how much of a friendship you have with them, right? So if you don't have too much rapport, aka if they don't like you so much, if I ask Sam, for example, if he could break down my entire funnel and I send him a screenshot, he's probably not going to respond, right? It just doesn't make sense because I don't like he doesn't he doesn't like me that much, and he has more important shit to do. Same with the prospects. Ask them very simple questions, ideally. So this is kind of like the general flow. You can basically screenshot that and insert your own stuff into it. Um, so clarifying what I did there works for everything. Follow up. Everybody hates follow up. It's great. So the average deal takes 5 to 7 follow ups to close. I don't know where I got that stat from, but I believe it's true. The average rep follows up less than 2 times. So put yourself in the top 50% by following up literally more than twice. Obviously, don't spam people. Follow up loops. People hate it when I reach back out to them. It must be so annoying. I've had follow-ups are important. Maybe I could send some out. This is probably you right now. My product is going to save this person's life. Let's say you cured cancer. Pretty good, huh? And you reach out to some really big fella in science and they don't respond to you. You will literally go to their house, knock on their door, and tell them about how you cured cancer. So this goes more into like the beliefs and the mindsets of actually having conviction into what you have to sell. So to end it off with the other side of closer. So you would do this on call or you would close them on the DMs. Is a presentation for sales part works best. So at this point, you clarified why they're there, you've labeled them with the problem, and you overviewed past pain. And now you pull up a presentation, ideally. Because a lot of people in the space kind of just like go off and do whatever they want. And that doesn't work very well. Two reasons. Each call is extremely different from another. And if it's not controlled, then you can't improve it. If I have like a machine that puts out 50 varied chocolates, then I can't improve the formula because it's 50 different things. How could I even? There's no pattern, right? So that's why a presentation takes out the randomness of it, right? And after the presentation is done, you want to go into pre-closing. So pre-closing is like these 3 questions I use at course. They're really good, saucy. Consider your situation. Which part of what I showed you seems the most useful? And you're like, yeah, I actually think the support is actually the best part. I love the support. And then, oh, great. Okay, cool. I think support's great. Yeah. And then we said you want to get to like 5K a month, right? Replace Skool with anything. You want to get really big biceps, right? And then does that seem realistic with everything I've showed you here? And then they're going to say yes at that point. If they don't, then, move on. And then explain away their concerns. So this is basically objection handling. I am personally not, I don't want to say I'm not a fan of objection handling, but I think it is the most overhyped thing in sales because it gets Instagram clicks. If you go on Instagram and you feel like in the sales world, all you're going to see is these one-liners about prospect says something and then the salesperson is like, well, actually, if you really think about it, then Jesus came down from heaven and made this product. And it's like some random bullshit line. And then the person says yes. Obviously, it's fake, but like there's so many of those. Don't waste your time. Just focus on discovery. If you do, like, obviously you want to objection handle. How I would do it is kind of complex, and I wouldn't go too much into it right now. But what I would say is like seek to understand, not judge. That is the fundamentals of objection handling. If you call someone out on their bullshit, they're not gonna buy. Like this is not true, right? When was the last time you got into an argument with someone and things got heated, and then they're like, "Oh, you're right." That doesn't happen. So you can use the AAA framework for objection handling as well. Yeah, I mean, I completely understand that you don't have time. Actually, John came in last week and he has, 2 kids, blah, 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 has so much time. Do you get what I mean? And then reinforce the decision, they buy. Cool. How you feeling? Just to, reduce buyers more, especially if you're selling more high ticket and just like checking in with them. Any questions on any of that? I don't know if I'm like supposed to talk here or just like wait.
Can I say
Yep.
something?
Yeah, go ahead.
Anna here. You were saying before that sometimes in heated arguments, The
Mm-hmm.
other side will not tell you that you're right. But I had this happening to me, like not long ago. I had this
Mm-hmm.
woman that she was acting out of line. It was not like with me personally, but she was super acting out of line. And I decided to call her out, but
Mm-hmm.
I screamed at her. And in the end, when she was leaving, I apologized that I called her out like that in front of everyone. And she looked at
Mm-hmm.
me and she thanked me because she was losing it and she needed
Sure.
someone to call her back to her. Because so, like, sometimes it does happen. Just wanted to say that.
Yeah, for sure. I would agree. And that's like, from my experience, a I don't know what Tyler's done. A rare case, you know? And I would say like I don't know how to get this blue thing off. Maybe we share. Cool. Um, whenever like you judge someone for where they're at, a lot of the time they just get very defensive and then they shut down with the combo flow. Yeah, I can do that. Da, 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 da. Cool. All right. And then the last one is just the community. Community is so good for sales. I cannot emphasize this enough. I feel like with most things, there's two sides in the Skool ecosystem. You have the extremely like community is the best thing ever, uh, sales boo, and then you have like the funnel bro. And in my opinion, they're both wrong because the community can become your funnel. So recently at Lifestyle Founders, for example, we've I've been taking like trying to make the community better, trying to make the community better, and the community members themselves are posting about how the premium is good, and I have not told them to do that. So they are promoting for us. That is crazy. Like that is crazy. They promote for us. We don't do anything. So I just want to break away from this like side of things where it's like these two things are kind of opposites in a lot of people's heads, where it's you either get sales or you like have a great community. And I think you can do both. And I think a great community leads to sales. I could I could net out about how community is good for sales because I've been reading Money Models by Alex recently. And it's like it's okay. I'm just going. I could tag you on that. Cool. So these are kind of the main four in my opinion. And this is the overall system I said at the beginning. This is mostly taken from Max Pearson because I loved his flow. I think it's a really good like presentation of basically Skool, and I kind of changed it up slightly, which is you have organic, so you have YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, social media platform, even Skool itself, right? And then you have paid ads, so Google ads, Meta ads, Instagram ads, all of that stuff. And then for getting them into the community, you can mostly do these five things. And then you can take them from community slash offer one to community offer two. This could be a free community, and this could be your higher tier. This could be a free community. This could be a completely different paid community. This could be a paid community. This could be a different paid, like place them whatever you want, right? And I very intentionally did not touch on webinars and workshops and email. Webinars and workshops because, in my opinion, it's too complex when you're starting out, and most beginners shouldn't do it because it's one too many. And as a rule of thumb, one too many commits less than one to one. So I would put in the extra time, talk to your customers, get them on a one on one. And then for email, Skool posts are honestly good enough to get most people started and gets you like 80% of the way there. And you also need like extra CRM if you want to send emails. So this way, everything I covered, you can do it entirely inside Skool. Dan.
Thank you, Artin. That's awesome. Definitely appreciate just going over the basics and making sure that people understand it is simple and it doesn't have to be as complex because you hear all these different ways on how to sell and this is how you should sell. And with all of that noise, that extra noise where people are giving information that works, it doesn't mean that it's what you have to try to conquer right now. So really appreciate that. Does anybody want to ask any questions? You guys can unmute yourselves and ask Artin what he knows or ask for his advice. He's been helping a lot on Skool in general with different owners, even beyond like Max and Dan. So if you have questions, he probably has an answer or an opinion on it.
While someone asks or speaks up, can I net out on the community and money models?
Yes, go
Great.
ahead.
Okay. More advanced stuff. I've been reading um, money models recently. Community is like crazy for it, especially discovery, because you hear if you're like a Hormozy fan, you hear him talking about this very frequently, which is CAC to LTV ratio. CAC is customer acquisition cost, which is essentially how much does it cost for me to get a customer. If I pay $50 and then I get a single customer, then my CAC is $50. If I pay $100 and I get a single customer, then my CAC is $100, right? And then you have LTV, which is lifetime value. With Discovery, you get free members, which means your CAC is zero, which is fucking crazy. Because I'm just the sound of that, right? And it's also so good for lifetime value because then you have the recurring. If you have a good community, which you would do if you're high on discovery, um, those people basically get to stay in, and all of that extra money can go into other forms of advertising, like YouTube ads or whatever. I could get into GP and like LDGP and stuff like that, but yeah.
I think that's a good subject too. Being on Skool discovery and getting those free members. A lot of people, when they first get started, they're not even sure how, like, what discovery is, how to get on discovery, and how to rank higher. There are plenty of people that try to tell you that they can help you get higher on Skool discovery, but some of those tactics don't even make a good community. So when you're really going after like trying to figure out how to make the community good, you have to remember that the importance of ranking in discovery do not outweigh having a good community that isn't going to be fluff, because some people will try different kinds of engagement hacks and stuff like that. And first of all, that can even get you like when you go back and look inside your settings, if you go down to discovery, it even tells you all the penalties, which is like spam or low quality engagement. So your entire account could get penalized and you wouldn't want that to happen. The other part of that is that ranking higher is because you're trying, like, the whole point of ranking is they're wanting to showcase schools that are worth being in. Like, a brand new person comes to Skool, they heard about Skool, they want to find something that's important to them. They're gonna help them find it a lot faster if you're clear on your about page, your imaging is clear, your engagement is like people clearly are joining and wanting to be involved in the conversation, and you yourself are active. And so those are like some of those main things. And if you are just starting out, you can be ranking higher for a keyword. So like make sure that your about page is clear enough. There's been so many times where I've looked at an about page where they're like, hey, I help with this. And they just talk about, like, let's just say this. They say, I talk about
Biceps.
biceps. Yeah, we'll go with biceps again. I help with biceps, but they never even use the word bicep. They never even, like, they don't even say the basic things. They talk all around it as if that's how they would be searched, and it just isn't. So I think that's even further, like at the, like you were saying, the about page, you can't sell to somebody that's confused. Clarity helps with the sell.
Also with the about page stuff, I'm pretty sure
Mhm.
I forgot the exact stat, but I think School Discovery gets 350K views a day, which is insane. Um, and I'm pretty sure the main focus for next year is improving discovery. So improving the specific search results. So even if you don't have a star next to your name, that goes back to like, not goes back to, but that goes to niching down, and niching down is like in the riches, right? Or whatever the quote is. I forgot. Riches are in the niches. There it is.
Nice. All right. Well, thank you everybody for your time here. And if you do have questions, we will be dropping this replay, and you can just comment them with the replay and tag Artin. Yes, thank you, Artin. Big shout out to Artin because he put him on the spot to do this last week, and he's like, "Okay, I'll do it. No more talking, take action," kind of thing.
Yeah.
So, all right, we will talk to you guys later.
Bye.
Bye.